Hello, everybody. I am 13, and we took a beating last week. I basically had to spend the entire weekend nursing my backside. That was just brutal. Uh, I also am mildly curious if you're a regular of the stream. I'm not even sure if I should record on nights with a migraine. 15 Bolt Arya was supposed to be 16 bolt because it's multiples of 4, but we had 5 of them, so it was supposed to be 20 bolt, and like, my head just doesn't work right. I'd love to put out content. If you guys don't mind seeing me do horribly, just let me know if honestly it's just worth skipping and like none of them have turned out well. I'll try to make it up, do like a weekend one or something, but I'd love to hear your opinions. In the meantime, though, we're going to be playing Esper Death's Shadow. So I typically have to qualify this. I qualify every deck. Most of the time, it's a terrible meme designed top down that just doesn't really get anything done, but I am not a subject matter expert in Esper Death Shadow. I just thought the deck was cool. We got a lot of new toys. I want to give it a shot. If you're looking for pitch perfect play, this probably isn't it. I'll try to talk through my lines as I normally do, but there it is. All right, so Esper Death Shadow. Death Shadow is a tempo deck in Modern. It's a very powerful creature that typically rewards you for taking a little bit more of an aggressive strategy and just playing with your life total. So we're going to be running stock Death Shadow with Street Race and Thought Seizes, Fetch Lands, and then we're going to be playing with a couple of new toys from Modern Horizons. So first and foremost, we have Ranger Captain of Eos. Ranger Captain, when it enters, can go tutor up a Death Shadow, or we can actually go get a Hex Parasite. The nice thing about Hex Parasite is we don't actually have to pay anything for X, so we can just pay 2 life. We can get a Death Shadow down to be an 11-11 or a 12-12 if we decide to go tutor this up, so it's a really good way to just squeeze the game out. And then Unearth is now Modern legal, so we can buy back Ranger Captain to go get another Death Shadow. We can buy back a Death Shadow. We can buy back a Snapcaster Mage. There's just a lot of value to be had in those cards. And then this is going to be all on the top of the typical Death Shadow blue-black shell with Snapcaster Mage, Gurmag Angler, Thought Scour. We have a couple of Jace Friends Prodigies. That's the image that isn't showing up. Stubborn Denial. We get Little Teferi so that we can play the tempo plan. Dismember just makes it so that we can pay life and remove anything in our way. And let's give that a shot. Oh boy, we still have Illusion Tribal up. Yeah, last week was just bad. Alright, that's all up to date. We would love to play first. Let's reset that horrible record. Ugh. Yeah. So here we have a Unearth, a Snapcaster. We actually don't really have a whole lot here. We have no way to populate the graveyard, and everything we have cares about the graveyard, so we're going to ship that back. And this is actually fine. So I'm going to keep this. We're going off the strength of the cantrip and basically multiple new draws. Ranger Captain costing double white is going to be the card that goes away here. Then let's go ahead and shock this guy in. We want to pay the life total, and we're probably going to Thought Scour at end step. Possibly Stubborn Denial. I doubt it, but it depends on what opponent's doing. Okay, Basic Mountain probably means Big Red or Burn. If it is Burn... Alright, well, I just have to cycle. I'm looking for a second land here. Alright, might just be Gurmag for the win. I mean, turn 2, 5-5 with only 1 land, still pretty decent. But if we get bolted in step, this could go downhill pretty quickly. We also get a run out of Death Shadow next turn. Oh, this is the new Lomasoul deck. Alright, well, we should be able to take that. Wait, it's mono red. Is this actually Living End? Alright, a couple of things this could be, but being pinched on 1 mana is a little unfortunate. If this is Living End, it means that they're going to probably double cycle here and then set up for Electro Dominance the following turn. I think I just need to try to get out the Death Shadow here. This could potentially be a Blood Moon next turn. Alright, 4 Forgotten Caves. Alright, still haven't seen a green source, so this is probably mono red. Ritual into a Chandra. Deals 3 damage to each creature, alright. And a bolt. Okay, so this is looking a little bit more like mono red control. Postmortem Lunge can bring back a Snapcaster for a little bit. Oh, this 1 mana is so painful. We could have actually stopped the Slag Storm there. Okay. That looks a lot more like Big Red. Yep, and that's the new Chandra. I mean, sure, that works. Probably going to cash in the Postmortem. Still need a land. The pain. Oh, boy. We're just doing all the work for our opponent. So we're 17 cards in. We have 4, 5, 8, 9, 13, 16. Blood Moon through Stubborn Denial mana. We're just like severely under on lands. We have 18. That should be fine. We have multiple cantrips. We really only need 2 to function. Alright, well, there's a second land, but it doesn't do anything for us. Alright, so we know we're playing against Big Red here. Force of Negation's probably coming in. EE, we technically have 3 mana sources, so that would probably be a consideration. Lily Last Hope could be a consideration if they're on the Goblin plan. It looks like they're on the Chandra plan. Kaya's Guile probably isn't relevant. We can make them sack a creature, which might be relevant if they're on Hazoret. If we go to a game 3 and we see Hazoret, that's probably worth it. Ceremonious Rejection is in here because we really do not like Chalice of the Void. Look at all those 1-drops. Teferi's quite strong. A lot of these are just redraws. Postmortem Lunge might just be a little bit cute here, especially if we're bringing in this much more control. Dismember, not expecting too many creatures, so probably just trim on some of the removal. We can keep the path. They're going to have plenty of lands to go fetch, but it can hit a Rabblemaster or a Legion Warboss if they are on the Gabu plan. And that's probably where we're at. Liliana alting seems possible. Buying back creatures also seems relevant, but I think I'd prefer to have the 3rd piece of removal. And the only other thing I could see trimming would probably be the Unearth. This is fine. Alright. Another single lander. But we have a lot of interaction. We have a Jace to start filtering if we find another land. It's not a fetch land, which means we don't get to keep our basic, but we have counter spells and discard. Blood Moon, Big Chandra, and lands. Alright. Well, opponent's got a slow start. Going for the scry. Wow, and still no lands. Alright. Well, looks like we're going to be holding up Stubborn Denial for the time being. Odds are they're going to go for a turn 3 Chandra. Trying to figure out if they want that card or not. Decided to put it on bottom. Hey, look at that. We finally found something. So, odds are they're going to be going for a Chandra this turn. Just given the fact of what I have in hand, I'm actually just going to get the snow-covered island. And I actually think that means I'm passing back, which means I should have held. Again, not a Death Shadow expert, but I do know that my line here is I need to have up the Stubborn Denial for the Chandra if they end up committing for it. And because they're not, I get a cycle. Alright, that's fine. I'm going to get out JVP here, just so that we can start getting some value. Also might incentivize them to start running out removal like that. Yep, that's fine. Unfortunately here, this means that Stubborn Denial is not live versus the Chandra. Adding mana. Okay, well, hopefully this one's live. They use a Simian Spirit Guide to cast this one. Alright. That is a polluted delta. That means that a Death Shadow gets to come down. I could get a Swamp here if I'm concerned about Blood Moon, but I really just want to get the Death Shadow down. I have 3 blue sources, so may as well Godless Shrine. And what do I have in my yard? Nothing I care about yet? Alright. One of 3 Stubborn Denials down. Fair enough. Opponent is getting some work out of those Forgotten Caves. Eidolon's mildly frustrating, but we can use it to manage our life total, so that's probably acceptable. Marsh Flats here is covering us in case Chandra tries to mine us again. Going for Saheeli. Alright, that gives them a lot of blockers. Because we don't have Battle Rage, it means that that's going to be a lot of chump blockers. Wow, Fireblood. Alright, they're going deep. This is just looting to get rid of lands that are bad. Only reason it's there. Plus ulting can actually win the game. That must mean that they're not on Ensnaring Bridge, which is kind of relevant. And Chandra is actually the most card advantage here, so I'm going to target her. Yep, as expected. Then this gets around. Eidolon gives us another threat, and I do like having the lands here. We don't have any Faithless Looting effects, so this will just allow us to manage our life total for Death Shadow. But there's a lot of cycling going on. Leyline of Combustion. Interesting. That's only good in very select matchups. I guess that does turn off discard for us pretty hard. We'll take 4. And apparently it's worth casting. It's probably just more for the servo. Doing 2 to me is less efficient than getting a blocker for 5 damage. Or potentially 9 if I crack the Marsh Flats. So Hex Parasite here is actually going to be really good because Hex Parasite can actually just hardcast to remove counters from their Planeswalkers, get rid of all their threats. Although I'll take 2 every time I activate thanks to that Leyline. Thoughtseize. Yeah, I don't want to take 6 here. Just go ahead and try to take care of Chandra. Actually, let's go after Saheeli. That means that they're going to have to double block. Either that or they're holding a bolt. Alright. Bye, Saheeli. I can take 4 here. So yeah, if they have a bolt, I might be dead. Nope, just a land. But they can attack for 2, Chandra can hit me for 2, and then a bolt would kill me. Alternatively, I'm actually able to kill them if I go unblocked on the backswing. I'll have to Thoughtseize first. But I can do it. Wouldn't be surprised if they run that out as a blocker. And they had another one. Alright, so I attack in, I kill Chandra, I take 6 on the backswing. I think I just have to go for opponent here. They're keeping a card that they like, that's worth noting. They're going to double chump. I'm on the table for 4, so yeah, I think I just have to go after opponent. No, I think Chandra's still a bigger threat. The problem is I have opponent dead on table. I have an actual clock, but Chandra's going to be able to shoot me for 2 or potentially draw a card that gets them out of it. They're still double blocking either way, but I think Chandra off the table is mildly more relevant as long as we have a pretty equal board state. And sure, run out the Flooded Strand. Just gives me more ways to play with my life total if I need it. Oh man, game 1 was painful. Five mana? So opponent could have big Chandra. Odds are more likely they have a Storm Breath though. Alright, decided it was higher priority to Chandra first. Alright, so this is going to make all their Planeswalkers dragons, and that leaves me dead. So that was rough. Blood Moons are very good versus Death Shadow because it takes off the fact that we are able to be 3 colors very easily, as well as shuts off our life loss engine. Honestly, just missing our land drop on turn 2 in game 2 and only having 1 mana the entire game 3 was what killed us there. And this hand is gorgeous. I normally don't say that a whole lot, but this allows us to take 5 on turn 1. We could almost run out the Death Shadow here. Then it allows us to actually go tutor for another Death Shadow and basically have lethal on, I think that's turn 4. It could be turn 4, but it's not going to be because of the Ranger Captain. It'd just be because of the Death Shadow. Alright, Stomping Grounds, Faithless Looting's probably leaning into a Ponza strategy. Faithless Looting normally isn't in Ponza, but... Oh no, this is Living End. Dredge. Okay. Kind of an odd start for Dredge, but we should be able to go bigger than them. They can chump block for a while, but we can go bigger. I have both white sources in hand, so we can go this route and Thoughtseize. Cathartic Reunion it is. That Faithless Looting is going to do some work for him, but... There's a Hogok. I don't think we have any actual tutorable hate for the Hogok. Nope, we can only get the Hex Parasite and the Death Shadows. That's fine though. Alright, opponent did not find another Dredger. Found a Stinkweed and there's a Prized Amalgam. So I don't want to go explosively hard here. I'm actually going to cycle the Street Wraith, which I probably should have done before the land drop, but then just play the Death Shadow off of that land. Then this still allows me to dismember if they get a decent start and they have a blocker, but I'm going to be shooting for a lot here. They should still have 4 creeping chills, so I am technically dead to the creeping chill triggers. Alright, they found a life from the loam by dredging the stinkweed imp. So they still haven't found a creature in here yet. They need 2 creatures to cast Hogok. That'll bring back the prized amalgam. Oh boy. Alright, well he's got Death Touch, so... Gotta get rid of that. Then... Oh, this is so rough. Let's just go get our basic island. No, we need the Godless Shrine. Oh, so painful. Ranger Captain, we'll go get the other Death Shadow, swing in for 12 here, and then force opponent to commit really hard or find their last. Actually, we'll just Ranger Captain on their upkeep. You can't cast on creatures. If they dredge Creeping Chill, I might be dead here. Otherwise, we should be pretty solid. Okay, Narcomoeba can block. I guess they could find another Blood Gas and make their land drop. Just a Stinkweed. So close. So very close. Alright, we're going to path you. They found the Conflagrate. Never mind, they got it. So what I was thinking I could do was path here, attack in, make them sack the Narcomoeba, then run out the Death Shadow. They won't be able to attack in. I'll have 2 attackers for next turn, but they'll just untap and Conflagrate. Alright, Leyline of the Void. Definitely coming in. Force of Negation's not worth it. Liliana can pick off a bunch of little creatures. Kaya's Guile can exile a graveyard or make them sack a big creature. It can kill a bunch of their little dorks, but it's probably not worth it. It's just too much of an investment, and we do have a strong game plan. Not a huge fan of Lunge. This is a really cute card, and I wanted to give it a shot. I know some people have been tinkering with it. It's a way to pay 2 life as well as get a surprise attacker, but it doesn't really seem like it's getting there. Stubborn Denial is also a little bit weak. I can snag a Cathartic Reunion, but do I care? Not exactly. Like, they're still going to put the Dredgers in the bin. Fatal Push is awful. The creatures just come back. We have Path to Exile. And Dismember's probably just bad. It can lower the size of a Hogok, but it's a way to pay life, and I don't think that's good enough. We just need to be a little bit better on the tempo plan. This is a little slow. I think we're going to mulligan looking for another land. We've just been punished a couple of times for not getting 2 landers. And this is actually fine. So we can deal some damage to ourselves, unearth, hopefully find a threat off the 2 Thought Scours for the unearth. And then ship back the Snapcaster. Odds are we're not going to find enough mana to actually get a good use out of it this early. Opponent is currently mulliganing to 4 cards. Alright, they kept 4. Thought Scour myself. There's a Gurmag and a Ranger Captain, so Ranger Captain on Earth next turn is going to be pretty good. There's a Shriekhorn. Oh, I have to decide between Inquisition and Unearth. Alright, well, they didn't keep enough cards. I want to punish their mulligans. And there's a Dredge. Non-optional. Alright. I'll give myself a punt on that. Hex Parasite is... It's not going to be good enough. Alright, we'll Thought Scour it in step. Found a Hogok and a Nature's Claims. So no creatures for the life, or no lands for the life from the loam. Yep, casting for no value. Just one in the bin to dredge. We'll Thought Scour again. Find myself another Ranger Captain. That is a Teferi. A little surprised I didn't Shriekhorn last turn. Alright, so I need double white somewhere in the deck, and double black would be nice. Godly Shrine it is. Alright, let's think about this a little bit better. So I can Unearth here, Hex Parasite here, Death Shadow here. Or alternatively, I can just... That's rough. Alright. If I had 3 black here, I could actually do everything I wanted to, which is Unearth and get 2 Death Shadows into play. The Hex Parasite will at least let me to set up for lethal attacks. But, oh my gosh, I did that wrong. Oh my gosh, that was horrible. I was supposed to Hex Parasite first and pay 2 life so the Death Shadow wouldn't die. Oh god. Thank you, Bradwan. Wow, I am... That is tilting. That is very tilting. Alright, so they get Dredge the Thug here. I found a Conflagrate. They only have 1 card in hand, though. Picked up Stinkweed Imp, found a Bloodghast. They do have a Blood Crypt, so that's coming back. And that's actually it. So they'll make their land drop, get a Bloodghast, and be holding the Thug. I guess they could technically just run out the Thug. Oh no, they picked up an Imp. Yeah, they're going to run out the Imp. Yep, yep, yep. Geez, if opponent takes this game, it's because that punt last turn. I should be attacking for at least 7 this turn. Wow. Found 2 Narcomoebas and another Bloodghast, but that's too late. Alright. Shock this into play, run out the Bloodghast that's actually going to stick around this time. Need blue. I've played this game before, although it does not look like it today. We're going to pick up a Narcomoeba. Send that in. They get killed to Teferi, but honestly that shouldn't matter. They can dredge life from the loam. If they actually dredge life from the loam... Okay, they picked up Stinkweed. If they picked up life from the loam, it meant that they were going for a Conflagrate to try to wreck my board, so I probably would have sacked the Ranger Captain there. But now they just have the Stinkweed. That all's fun. They are seeing most of their deck, but right now they don't really have a lot of threats, and the Narcomoeba is stranded in hand, as well as 2 Stinkweed Imps. If they attack in with the Narcomoeba, that means that I'm going to be able to kill them, because I can get my life total down to 2, making the Death Shadow an 11/11. I'd have to actually find a fetch land to do that. So odds are they just have to Stinkweed in for a blocker. Guess they could go looking for a Creeping Chill. That'd actually keep them in it, although that would put them dead if I find a removal spell. Yep, running out the blocker. Oh, they're just going after Hogok. Okay, that's fair. Pretty sure my Death Shadow is going to be bigger than Hogok if I really want to go for it. Like, I can at least make an 11-11. Perfect. Path, path, path. Alright, well, Fetch Land gives me a different life total, so that's fine. Alright, let's remove a counter, just clear the way for Creeping Chill shenanigans. Then I can grow Death Shadow 3 times pretty safely. Let's see, so I make it a 10-10. I go down to 3 life. Still dead to the Creeping Chill. They're going to be dredging 4 next turn. They have 2 Bloodghast attacking. I can make it so that they can't use this Conflagrate, although in Happy Magic Christmas Land, they dredge the loam. They pick up 3 lands. They'll have 5 in hand, so they can Conflagrate for 5. I think I'm just running out Death Shadow this turn and passing. They have a couple of things that they can do, but nothing overly productive. If I didn't punt and I still had my 3rd Death Shadow out here, we would have won pretty easily. So they dredge the Thug. They hit 4 things. Nothing that really mattered. They did find another Stinkweed Imp. So they have 3 Dredgers in hand. There's probably another Stinkweed Imp. Oh, so they do have the loam. Alright. Conflagrate hit me for 5. Doesn't really do anything. They target my Death Shadows, then I'll just pay some life. This means they're running out of Thug as a blocker. There's the Thug. Thoughtseize. So Thoughtseize will just take a Dredger, so that's probably not worth it. Oh boy, this is so awkward. So I can pay a life here, go get a tap land, go down to 8, then pay 2 life, or just shock it once and pay. That'd be big enough to get around Hogok, but then they'll just redredge Stinkweed Imp. I honestly think I'm just looking for removal for the Stinkweed Imp. Don't really have a clear line to victory. I have 2 lines involving Teferi that are just bananas. I can get another Unearth, just go tutor another Death Shadow. Removal would be great. The fact that they didn't attack with Narcomoebe is also a little odd. Hogok's really not attacking. Golgari Thug's trigger is required, but the longer that they go, the more dredging they get to do. I think I have to press my advantage here and trade off a Death Shadow for the Stinkweed and get rid of Hogok, although they just get to run it back next turn. None of this is fantastic. I needed that 3rd Death Shadow here. I really needed it. This is when Battle Rage is showing a lot of value. Alright. Oh, now Hogok's significantly better. Hogok can Conflagrate kill me. Wow. So, not in the right headspace for this game. All right, moving to 0-2, and that should not be the case. This deck is actually legitimate. But Battle Rage would have been fantastic in that matchup, and game one was mana issues. So, when I was actually building this, I used MTG Goldfish's stock average deck, which doesn't always make the best thing. A lot of people make very specific decisions, like they end up liking Street Wraith if they have I completely just lost the words. Fantastic. Let's actually pull up the list. So this was kind of just like the average in here. Typically, you'd like more Teferis if you have more discard effects, like Teferi's Plus allowing you to discard on their draw step is better. So it probably rounds out getting more Inquisitions into the deck and more Thoughtseizes if you're actually running more Teferis, where this is just a sample and like the averages end up being decisions for other decisions. But that was just brutal. I guess in game two I should have mulliganed a little more aggressively for a ley line. Opponent was on the mull to 4 and still took it. Yeah, that's rough. Hogaku's a very powerful card. It's nice that the combo's not there, but it's still really hard to deal with an 8-8 trampler. Yeah, still mildly tilted from that first game in match 2. Don't know what else I can do about it, though. Alright, well, our opponent belled. I also haven't been overly impressed with Snapcaster in this deck so far. The amount of times I've actually had the mana to cast things, I would have preferred to have something along the lines of like a Collective Brutality, just discard extra lands. Snapcaster, recast, removal should be good in the creature matchups, but I don't know. Again, not an expert on Death Shadow subject matter. So this is fine. It's going to be discard for turn 2, path if they have a decent creature, and then Teferi should be able to go a pretty long distance as well as cantrip. We don't really have a threat yet, but we're also not paying a ton of life, so it's not like we need a Death Shadow. Alright, and this is Affinity. So hopefully going to snag the Cranial Plating or the Overseer / Ravager. Stubborn Your Nile's fine for turn 2. And I still want to pay life, and opponent hasn't actually put much pressure out there, so I'm just going to take the shock. And there's a Ravager. So I get to path the Signal Pest, and opponent's only got 1 power on the table. Meanwhile, they're getting me to the point that my Death Shadows can be ran out. I have a Begin Combat stop. Wow, opponent was on a 0 lander too. They have plenty of mana, but they were on a 0 lander. Yep, that's good. So, seeing Thoughtcast means that they're probably not on Experimental Frenzy. And now that my Death Shadows are live, I am actually wanting to protect my life total a little bit. Godly Shrine here is fine, though. I really like playing fun Magic. Like, that's just the bottom line. So thank you for the love. Really just want to try to have as much fun with the game as I can. Alright, so Teferi bounce. Oh, that's actually probably what's happening. Teferi bounce Memnite means I have no pressure on the table. They might shoot it with a blast, then that clears the way for a Death Shadow. And next turn that's a Teferi with backup. I like it. I like it. We basically removed all of their pressure. Let's do this. Blue, white. Teferi. Bounce the Midnight because that's the only thing opponent has at the moment. Of note, if they were floating mana for Blast here, they can't use it because of Teferi now. Such a powerful card. A little bit on the unfair side. Kind of think it's a mistake, but it's still a very powerful card. Oh, we even found a Gurmag Angler. All right, next turn's going to be busted. Double Memnite. So Memnite was probably the draw for turn, and then Cranial Plating. Makes sense. They guys slap it on the Ornithopter, get hit for 6. Or they kill Teferi, one of the two. Yep, going for me. Oh boy. Alright, so I cracked the Pluto Delta, get my last basic. Gurmag Angler for my entire graveyard. Bounce Cranial Plating with Teferi. Oh man, that leaves me dead. Alright, so Death Shadow math is still going to be the same. Cashing into Teferi last turn is what killed me. Alright, so I can do all this, but I'm just dead in the air. So Teferi find removal is actually my only out here. Which means I have 2 Fatal Pushes and 2 Paths. I have to actually go get my basic here. Because that means I can leave the Godly Shrine up, and the Godly Shrine can do both removal spells. So oh, but I don't have white. Alright, so this lowers it to I need to have Path. We'll keep the new Teferi. Then we bounce Ornithopter. They'll still have black, black. Nope, that doesn't do it. Alright, well they know what we're on, so we'll see if they actually have the line of moving this in combat by running out the free Ornithopter, using it to tap for black with the Springleaf Drum, and moving it at instant speed. They probably see the line, but if that's all we've got... Yep, that does it. That's unfortunate. 1 turn too slow. Oh, he had 3 blasts? Alright, EE comes in. Force of Negation is a consideration just because the cards that we care about are non-creatures. They also probably shouldn't be on the Experimental Frenzy because they have the Thought Cast, but that doesn't mean that they just don't have it. Liliana's great. Ceremonious Rejection is an auto-include. Again, Postmortem Lunch, this has just been looking so awkward. I understand the strength of the card, but every time I see it, it just feels so awkward. Jace can probably come out. Thoughtseize hurts. It can get us an earlier Death Shadow, but we're just trying to get their initial burst out of the way. Oh, Stony Silence. Stony Silence. Sure. Let's submit that. Try to make it better. Unearth hitting Ranger Captain probably isn't very good. Yeah, that's probably my decision. There might be an argument for a Dismember somewhere in there, but I really like the flexibility of Dismember. This is going to be a very early Thought Cast, a threat, a Teferi. Sure. We have threats. We have cantrips. We have hate. Not artifact hate, but Teferi is just good hate all across the board. With this hand, I'd really prefer that one of these Death Shadows was a Gurmag Angler, just because I know I'm going to be able to cast it pretty quickly. Alright, not going to bury the lead. We are going to be using Thought Scour, but may as well make them think that we have anything in our deck. Mox Opal, Springleaf Drum. Wow, that's it? So, Mox Opal's currently online, and a 0-drop would turn Springleaf Drum on. They technically have 2 mana still, so they must have kept a slower hand. Alright, well, let's see what I got. This is Street Wraith. If I find a fetch land, it means that I can cast 2 Death Shadows? Alright, well, next turn is 2 Death Shadows or Teferi. Whatever I feel is more relevant. Must top deck the Ornithopter. Arcbound Ravager is a threat. And a Steel Overseer. Alright, lots of bad things happening over there. Lots of bad things. So, Teferi, Bounce, Overseer. How dead am I if I have to deal with one of these two this turn. Otherwise, what happens is they activate the Inkmoth Nexus, they turn on Steel Overseer, everything gets 4 counters, and then they just sack everything to the Ravager, and then the Ravager drop it on the Inkmoth Nexus, and I die. They're probably going to try to make sure that I don't have removal up. So I could probably run out both Death Shadows here and bluff. Alternatively, I can Teferi and just set this back a turn and actually try to find removal. That's how I died last game, but I actually do think that's the correct line. So let's go ahead and Silent Clearing Teferi. If they sack their entire board here, I think they can still kill me with the Arcbound Ravager. Okay, Fatal Push is good coverage. Oh no, this isn't Hardened Scales. I can only get +5/+5 on the Ravager. Likely what happens here is they just swing in for 1 and they kill Teferi. Or not. I mean, I'm fine to be wrong. It did slow them down for a turn though, which is all I was really hoping for. That's a Gurmag Angler. So, Marsh Flats, go get my basic. Actually, if I'm running out the Death Shadows, I think I want to grow it. Yeah, let's go for another Watery Grave. So, Death Shadow. Death Shadow. Gurmag Angler. I'm going to leave the Stubborn Denial up. It's just better as removal. And then they have to be able to get through my board as well as a Fatal Push. This is what this deck's been trying to do. We just haven't seen it yet. If they Welding Jar here, I'm going to be so sad. Although by leaving up the Silent Clearing, we are also bluffing a path, and a path would get around the Welding Jar. So this is just making it really hard for them to commit in. Alright, Edge Champion's pretty good. It's protection from all colors, so they can actually invest really big into this and just one-shot me. Yep, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They could potentially kill me here. So I have to leave up the Fatal Push. Alright, now I'm doing this to get rid of a blocker and the shenanigans with Arcbound Ravager Modular. Which means I can... Yep, that's fine. That's another Gurmag Angler. Alright, well that doesn't block the Etch Champion or the Ornithopter. That is a good Snapcaster Mage, though. So I swing in with both of these. I can hit for 16 with the Shockland. They're going to eat the Gurmag Angler. Oh, crap. Then that means the Crackback kills me. I was just trying to grow the Death Shadows. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this game. I'm like so bad at this game. So I could I kind of just floated all the mana here, sort of as a bluff. I could kill one of these, but then they'll still have 5 artifacts, so the Metalcraft will just give it protection from everything they kill me on the crackback. Yeah, okay, that is brutal. That is so brutal. Are we at Bell and Cannon? I think we're at Bell and Cannon, just because 13 cannot pilot a deck that requires turning creatures sideways. Alright, whatever. We have a turn 1 play. We don't have a turn 2 play. Ranger will go get Death Shadow, which should be turned online, and we have Disruption. If it's a spell-based matchup, turn 3 is just going to be Snapcaster Thoughtseize, take the other thing away. What the heck is that? Urtai. That doesn't look anything like the Urtai I'm familiar with. What the heck? He's like bald with... I don't even know what to call that. A single strand of hair. He looks like Homer Simpson if he just jet his hair back. And that's... That almost looks like blonde Doctor Strange. Alright, well, opponent is apparently AFK. We did win the die roll. We're playing first. Opponent's tanking on their hand for a minute. I'm almost on Bell and Cannon, so how's the hand, opponent? Alright, they keep 7. Let's see what you kept. Nope. That guy. If they were tanking on their hand, then this is going to be take the important piece. Oh boy. So it's Grixis control. The logic here is always you want to take the Inquisition. Just that they can't see your hand. Plus, we're probably going to Snapcaster on 3 at this point. Which means that we don't want them to take the Snapcaster because it's 2 spells. And they won't be able to force of negation either of our creatures. Postmortem Lunge right now can buy back Snapcaster. I think I am going to try to preserve my life total. The 2 Kolaghan's commands makes me lead that they're on 3 bolts. Or, sorry, 4 bolts. Sorry, I had to go off mic for a second. I'm not going to take the shock here just because Bolt Snap Bolt is definitely a plan, and if we go too low, that turns that on for them. And I am intending on Thoughtseize here, so I'm definitely going to be able to play a Shadow. And that makes it even more likely to play a Shadow. So, if I Thoughtseize, I could take away the Logic Knot. Yeah, let's actually do this. So they're going to have to Logic Knot this for 2. Scalding Tarn is gone. I guess if I tapped correctly, what I would have done was run out the snow-covered island, paid for these 2, and then I could have started a Street Wraith into a Stubborn Denial. But then that would have meant that I couldn't Snapcaster, so it's probably not relevant, but it is a line I probably should have considered before attempting that. Also don't have the mana for Ranger yet. Alright, so Sulphur Falls was a fresh draw. They've used both Scalding Tarn, so they have 1 unknown and they have 2 unknowns in hand. How convoluted can I get here? Because I'm actually 1 land away from playing the Street Wraith, which is going to get around most of their removal. I can postmortem lunge for 2, pain life. That'll get me to 13, so Death Shadows are almost turned on. That will allow me to Snapcaster Thoughts, so he's getting me to 11. I actually really like that. But maybe not pay the full life. I know opponents get into Force of Negation this postmortem lunge. Just hard casting it. Perfect. Then that means that I get to hold up Path. Opponent hasn't found a Snapcaster, so these K commands aren't that great. Path is probably a fine discard target if they do start K commanding. Or, you know, we can just go for it. How often do you actually hard cast a Street Wraith? Typically, it's only when your living end deck gets completely shut down. He lives! Thought Scour targeting themselves. Fatal Push doesn't get there. Bolt doesn't get there. K Command doesn't get there. They're going to have to find a Bolt and a K Command. Those are the kind of odds I like. Plus, he is unblockable. I love it. Oh, I remember trying to run Cass. It was too slow. There are so many unfair decks running around. They paid... Do they have a Cass? Nope. Picking up Kess. I have to be able to remove Kess here. So it probably has to be the Ranger Captain. Don't feel great about that, but I need to have the removal. Deck, deck, deck. Why? Why do you hate me? Alright, let's take a look. They have the Bolt, so, and 2 Kesses. They found all 3 K commands. Alright, whatever. Bolt goes down. That means that they can't answer my Street Wraith anytime soon. And I'm kind of discard proof for the K command. That's fine. So it is worth holding on to future lands at this point, just because they do have multiple K commands. They're going to end up having 5 casts if Kess sticks. And I'm just being mana efficient here. I still can't cast my Ranger Captains if I draw them, because I sacked the Silent Clearing, so... Teferi would be awesome. Teferi to shut down what my opponent's doing would be awesome. Or a Fish. Fish is a threat. Unblockable Street Wraith coming in clutch, though. Alright, and I do kind of care about my graveyard, so I'm going to cast like this and leave up both colors as a bluff. And I actually think I'd want to rebuy Snapcaster most of all. Thoughtseize probably isn't the best here. You don't need the lands. Do I want the Ranger Captain front of Earth? Yeah, let's do it a little bit more like this. Because I'm at least going to have the path available if I find another Snapcaster Mage, but Ranger Captain's going to be a better on Earth target. I think opponents trying to piece together what's going to happen. If they drew a land, they were going to double K command. If they didn't, they were going to run out Kess and probably Lightning Bolt something. They don't have... I don't know. The problem with Kess, and it's not nearly as big of a problem in Legacy, but it's because you have to cast it on your turn. each of your turns. So like Thought Scours get turned off on my turn. It turns off instant speed, other things. Like you have to be on discard. It turns off the counter magic. And I just don't want to fight this value train. It's not even worth it. Like remotely close to worth it. We're not going to beat a Kess every turn. So I am going to Thought Scour myself. That's a Death Shadow I can't cast, so that's lovely. Maybe I was being too conservative with my life total. I knew opponent had burned, though. If I was lower, opponent would probably just start K-commanding me for 2. I don't know. They need to find a way to get around 2 blockers, and they have 2 K-commands and 3 unknowns in hand. Narset's a start. Wonder if they're on Days Undoing. They found a second Narset, doesn't really help in this situation. And scoops it up. Alright, so funny enough, I think we should have won the other games, but we shouldn't have won this one, and yet it's not working out that way. I'm bringing in Force of Negations because I care about a lot of their spells. Actually, no. What am I thinking? So you never bring in Force of Will versus Delver. It's a fair matchup. You don't want to have to fight it. I do want the Ley Lines, though, because that shuts off Kess and it shuts off Snapcaster Mages. One of the modes from Kai's Guile is exile all cards in an opponent's graveyard and create a Spirit Token. Spirit Tokens are really hard for them to deal with, and I can also kill Kess, so I really like Kai's Guile here. Liliana Buyback is kind of tempting. Liliana's plus won't do anything, though. EE can kill Narset and probably Teferi. I'm expecting them to also be on Teferi. As far as cuts, Fatal Push can get Kess with Revolt, but I'd rather have Path because they have K-commands to pick her back up. This Postmortem Lunge has just been so awkward. Sorcery Speed, none of that is... I don't want to sign up for this. This is probably better in a style of deck like Devoted Druid, where you can bring back a combo piece and just win, as opposed to hoping that you can go the distance with a Death Shadow. This might be sideboard for cheese wins. I don't know. This is a very powerful card. I'm not denying that, but I don't really think it has a good home here. Dismember's coming out. Actually, is it? This can kill Kess. It's not permanent, though. I'm not sold on taking out Dismember yet. Street Wraith is mildly awkward, especially since they've shown us the Narset, so maybe this package? I could see one EE. We don't have a 4th color, though. Sure. Why not? This is a card in the graveyard and lets us pay life. Yeah, when I tried to play Kess, we just got steamrolled by combo decks. And we even had the Force of Negations, and we just had a bunch of powerful cards, but we just could not get there because it was just a little bit too slow. Thoughtseize on 1, Thought Scour into Gurmag Angler. Me likey. And Path is going to be a little bit slow here. I have a plan for every single card in my hand at the moment. Ooh, Snapcaster's not bad. Although I'm going to nuke most of my graveyard for the fish, so... Brought in Young Peasy. Alright, so they have 3 mana. They'll have Dreadbore for the Gurmag. I just don't have an answer to this, so I have to take the card that's going to beat me and suspect that I can do better long term. So like I can Dreadbore, or I can fish next turn, they can Dreadbore it, and then I'll have a Death Shadow. And a K command and a Surgical. So they do have 1 unknown in hand. That's a terrible draw. Thought Scour myself. And then I'm 1 mana off. Oh, because I didn't have a... Okay. Yep, that's my bad. I didn't have a fetch land here, so I couldn't fish. I should have been able to fish, I just didn't have it. But this clears the way for fish to actually stick and do something. They're going to have Cake Man mana pretty soon here, but next turn is going to be fish and Death Shadow. Oh no, I didn't clear it first. There's the Thought Scour, finding Snapcaster. They didn't have a K command when we looked, so it's not the best yet, but that is value. Oh, I need a black land to Death Shadow. Yeah, that's slightly awkward. Alright, well, we will fish. And we may as well actually just pay for it. Care of a Thought, sees the ley line, and sure, Thought Scour? I don't really need to fill my yard again. Opponent's going to start trying to chain Cryptics after this. There's the basic Swamp. Jace bounce fish. Acceptable. Not happy about it, but acceptable. Godless Shrine. So I can Thoughtseize here, take the Cryptic, have a Snapcaster on the table to kill Jace, but I don't have removal if they end up following it up with something, and they're going to just bolt the Snapcaster. Alternatively, Death Shadow will be out of range of... Alright, so this is actually a big decision here. I can Thoughtseize away the Cryptic, or I can just run out a Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, so the way I see this going down is opponent is actually going to tap down my Death Shadow, and that means that Jace is going to stick around. And this is at least going to pressure them to the point that they have to bolt the Snapcaster Mage. I will be going kind of low on life, but we are a tempo deck, and I need to get the pressure going. The longer the game goes, the better off they're positioned. Alright. Here you go, opponent. Oh man, Creeping Tar Pit's also putting me pretty close to dead. I don't like any of this. Jeez, and this could just be a Kess into a... I guess it's only a Thought Scour. Again, I wasn't impressed. I love Kess in Legacy, but I was not impressed in Modern. She was just a little too slow for what you'd be wanting to do. Like, opponent has a Bolt and a Creeping Tar Pit. They can pretty much kill me here. But instead they're investing to Kess for a Thought Scour. Or they're going to Bolt here and not use Kess this turn. Probably makes a little bit more sense. Yeah, if they would have just bolted me, attacked with the Creeping Tar Pit, I would be at 1, and then they have the Creeping Tar Pit next turn, which I need to find a removal for. I guess this is a little bit better long term, but it also depends on what they found with Jace. So awkward. So... Oh, never mind. We're dead again. Yay! They're going to Cryptic, tap us down, bolt me in the face, and attack with Kess. I guess that actually puts me one more turn to still live. Likely cycling on Earth here. Oh, sorry. They bolt, and attack in for 3 with flying. That's what I meant. I knew we were dead. I just said the wrong words. So, bolt, recast bolt with Kess, swing for 3. I am at least bluffing interaction here. That might buy us a turn. But the fact I didn't kill Kess means that that's pretty safe. I guess I could technically have a push and just not have Revolt yet. Although I'm still just dead if they actually follow that line. Yep. And no attack. So they're holding up the Force of Negation. Smart. Although they had me dead on table a while ago. Apparently just did not see it. So I need to make sure I have Snap and Unearth still available. So that's going to be my blue for Snap. There's the hard cast Force of Negation. Yep. Then I'm already dead, but may as well put up the fight that I've got. So we can go ahead and grab our Swamp. Oh, Force of Negation exiles it. Alright, whatever. Opponent has it. I'm not going to make them go for it. They have it 3 different ways. So, post board, I think we don't change anything. The fact that they have Young Pyromancer means Lily's coming in, though. That might be an Unearth then. They did show a Surgical. Unearth just got significantly worse. Fatal Push also got a little bit better. Playing the control game, we're going to lose. Alright. This doesn't do anything productive. So by the time that we get down a Ranger Captain, it's just not going to actually allow us to win. So we need to look for something a little bit stronger. This is going to be a... We have no cantrips, so we don't have the mana to actually make this happen, although the hand is gorgeous. And that's a thing. Let's ship back those 2. And hoping Jace does some stuff here. Flip Jace is actually kind of decent against their deck. Go JVP! So for the Magic fans at home, this is sometimes referred to as Baby Jace, but he's not Baby Jace. Jace Beleren is Baby Jace. So Jace Beleren came out after Jace the Mind Sculptor, so he kind of got the name Baby Jace long before this dude came out. Alright, find me a land. That's not a land. You failed, Jace. I wanted better things of you, but you failed me. So opponent is pretty close to Cryptic Mana. They are representing Force of Negation. They had Logic Knot game 1. So I'd love white mana for Ranger Captain. I think that's my best line. Teferi's decent. Oh, just a V-click? K command. I discard. Why would you let me draw first? Okay, so I'm probably discarding Kaya's Guile here. Like, if I had drawn into a Thought Scour off of this, I would have just flipped Jace and then would have fizzled the kill part of K command. Alright, well, I know I don't want the Fatal Push. Then Ranger Captain can't get Force of Negationed. I'm probably running out Lily and trying to keep Teferi around. If opponent taps out next turn, I want the Kaya's Guile. So I think that means Ranger Captain's going away. I am not a fan of that, but I think it just worked out that way. We have double black. We need... May as well get a water Hallowed Fountain here. Hallowed Fountain it is. And if they do have the Force of Negation, I want to lead on Lily. So I could minus there, but then she's dead to K command. Maybe it was better to just get a card out of their hand and cantrip. I could pick up Jace or Ranger Captain. Both would significantly expand my board state. But now they have to shoot 4 points at Lily. And Lily's keeping young Pyromancer off the table. Okay. Draw a card, bounce Lily. I think that means you don't have anything. Alright, well, let's run it back. There's the Force of Negation. So they did draw into one. Either that or they found another white-blue card they figured was worth pitching. So they didn't have it the first time around. They found it the second time around, which means Teferi should stick. I just love it. Absolutely love it if you're in Outcast here. And I know I'm commenting a lot on opponent's deck. It's because I really wanted Kess to work, and I was super disappointed by the deck. But if they had Kess in hand, there's no reason to run her out here. They can't K-Command, they can't Cryptic, and they can't Force of Negation. So they probably have the hard counter. That's the read that I'm getting. Everything in my hand is super awkward at 3 mana. So I'll go with Ranger Captain, try to get an additional card and bait out a counter spell. The card I care about in my hand is still Teferi. They're logic nodding. Okay. Still, it was a hard counter. Glad that didn't eat Teferi. And Kess is still kind of showing to be awkward. They have 3 counter spells and something that they can't cast because... Oh, that's painful. That's really painful. That also turns Kess on. Kess will actually have a target at this point. This is probably the pause to read Kaya's Guile. Yeah, Teferi was definitely the best card there. A path. Alright, I'm on Thought Scour. I'm kind of running out of options here. Into a ley line. Right past 2 lands. So, opponent doesn't have Cryptic up. That's worth noting. That actually means that they don't have Cryptic because they tapped their 3rd blue source. Either that was a mistap or they weren't making a conscious decision to represent Cryptic. And they had nothing else to do, so they probably would have just fired off a K command. Goodbye, Graveyard. So they had a Death Shadow, another Teferi, and an Inquisition. Alright. Run it back. There's the Stubborn Denial that I wanted. So Kaya's Guile here, probably not going to do anything, so I can make a token and make them sack a creature. Clearing their graveyard is kind of relevant because they have a lot of really powerful cards in their yard, but I've kind of given up hope here. The opponent's taking control of the game. They don't have a threat yet, but they could, again, just start killing me with Creeping Tar Pit. There goes my yard, as well as another Death Shadow. Alright, so this is going to get countered, but I've got to go for it. So let's go ahead and exile all cards and make a Spirit. This is just to bait them to tap out. I have to untap and draw one of my 2 last Death Shadows in my deck. Sorry about that. Had to go off mic a second. Um, all right, and that's good enough for me. So I'm actually going to call it there. I This is like a legitimate deck. I've seen people putting up results with it, but I have not been a fan. So again, I kind of pieced this together off of the Esper Death Shadow list here, where so the standard one had 18 lands. I even went up to 20, and we saw how awkward this 3-drop slot is. Like, it was so awkward. I had so many 3-drops in my hand that I just couldn't do anything with. So I don't know. I wasn't a fan there. I probably could have mulliganed better. I needed to find better threats, but it felt like it was trying to do like 3 different things. It was trying to put together the attrition game plan that Martyr Proc has with the Rangers, that the Rangers will go get Death Shadows and you'll just keep getting threats. Unearth was supposed to bring back both of those. We had opponents bringing. 1 second, actually. Sorry about that. So Unearth was supposed to buy back either of those 2 threats. I did punt away the Dredge game. We probably could have taken Dredge. I actually am not a huge fan of that. We saw how hard it was to attack in through a Stinkweed Imp. We could grow out of the range of the Hogok, but then we were just going to get chumped by a Narcomoeba or a Stinkweed Imp. That's why the Grixis version has Teamer Battle Rage, so that you can just one-shot the opponent. Punishing my life total was also really hard. I had to find one of my 6 threats that actually mattered. I'm pretty sure Grixis ends up running 4 copies of Gurmag Angler. I've seen 3 stuck in my opponent's hands when I brought in Rip against them. 6 threats was not dense enough. I wasn't able to find them. I had no way to buy them back. Like, typically, I think Grixis runs 2 Kolaghan's command, so if one dies, you can just buy it back and run it back. Where Ranger will go get it out of your deck, but Ranger was also 3 white, which I probably didn't fetch correctly for. Again, when I started this video, I am not a master of Esper Death Shadow. The deck just looked like fun, and I wanted to give it a shot. We had Hex Parasite on the field. We never had an opportunity where we actually wanted to go tutor it, and we couldn't pay live because we were just dead on the crackback. I don't believe that this is ideal. So Death Shadow kind of got pushed out of the... Blah, 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 blah. Words are hard. Death Shadow got pushed out of the format when Humans came along, because Humans' tempo game plan of taking the cards that matter out of your hand was stronger than Death Shadow's ability to just drop a threat, pay their own life total, and then one-shot you with Teamer Battle Rage. So I think people are trying to test this new format with Esper, but if there's a lot of Humans, neither deck will work. And I don't think Esper really went the distance. Teferi's quite strong, but the number of times that I added Teferi and a threat was very minimal. If you perfectly curve turn 1 Thoughtseize into turn 2 Fish and to turn 3 Teferi, you're probably fine. But that ideal hand is also still putting an opponent on a 4-turn clock, and it's just not strong enough. Like, I actually don't think I'm a huge fan of this deck. So take that as you will. I'm sure I'm going to get roasted in the comments for every little mistake I made. Feel free. That's how I learn. I'm happy to figure out how to play other decks better. I play a lot of jank, and I typically see a lot of lines, and this deck didn't really feel like they had too many. I was just drawing bad cards at bad times, and none of it really seemed to piece together. But thanks for sticking around and watching. Wow, I've been on a horrible lose streak lately. Have not been king of the 2-3 bracket, but guys, I am thirteene. I do horrible Mimi decks designed top down. A lot of my decks are, I want to do something really stupid and we try to get there. I put a lot of videos up on YouTube under the Squirrel Dealer account. If you want to check out me or Brad One does a lot more competitive decks. All of it goes to Squirrel Dealer. Feel free to hit us up at the Twitter link or me directly on Reddit. My schedule's over there on the left. We play a lot of random fun jank. Tonight was a little out of the normal, but I'm actually going to call that jank. It didn't piece together very well, and I think the people that have done well with it probably had some really good runnings or just absolute masters of the deck. But feel free to go check us out. If you love memes, it's definitely a good place to be at. If you like something a little bit more competitive, Tuesday, Thursdays is Brad One. Definitely videos for everybody, and thanks for sticking around, and I will see you all tomorrow night.